us, Ganesh, and thank you so much for those insights. Thank you. All right, Arastu Sharma, CEO of Shodh AI, is also joining us. Shodh AI is a deep tech startup building advanced AI and small language models. Arastu, appreciate you joining us. Of course, this is a very important phase for you as well as Tech India as well. And many congratulations on the roundtable with the Prime Minister. Can you tell us what were the discussions like? What did he want to know about your company? And, what did you try and explain to him?
Okay. So, like the background of this is that we are part of the 12 companies chosen by India AI, which is the Indian government's mission to build our own larger AI companies and large AI models. So this was done with India AI, which is a part of Ministry of IT, MIT. Uh, Therefore, the Prime Minister had invited all of us to this roundtable discussion. And the Prime Minister's primary aim was to first know what everyone's doing and to enforce upon that we are expecting bigger results because they've actually invested in our companies as well. They've funded these companies through grants and equity investments. They're helping us with GPUs and access to a lot of things in cloud and resources otherwise and data as well. So there he was mentioning about their expectations in return to actually produce use cases and applications for India in return, and that there is also an India AI summit that is happening in February that they want some big outcomes to come towards. So they also imprinted upon us that such outcomes should be bigger because like there's people in audience would be people like Sam Altman from OpenAI and companies, Microsoft, Nvidia, and CEOs from all these companies would be there. So in that case, we should be also showing that India is also not very much behind, and we're doing some bigger level projects on the equal level as West and China.
Well, tell us more about Shodh AI. But first up, what made you take up deep tech as a career, and how was the journey so far?
Yeah, thanks. I am basically I did my undergrad, postgrad, and PhD from University of Cambridge in UK, and I had spent a lot of years in researching in deep tech areas. I was part of Microsoft Research for a very long time in the UK itself, and my areas of research had been like optical computing and quantum computing, machine learning, and physics-based areas. So I had always, expected that if I wanted to do something very deep tech, I would have to stay within, UK or US or Europe's border to be able to do something impactful. And no one like 10 years ago could have thought that like people like us could actually come back to India and be able to do impactful work, especially in deep tech. So, and that is a possibility now. I moved back to India in 23, 24 around, and decided like that it is a prime time that India needs some like, deep tech companies because we have the human resource, we have the capability to do it. And now because of the government support, we have the capital resources and the influential intentions to do it, which is also something very important, that the investors also see that because the government is supporting it, that means something like this could become real. So that has all been there, the support has all been there, and that is so I was personally always very deep tech inclined. I have had a lot of experiences there. I've built towards a lot of patents. I've even sold patents in the past. But now to be able to do this in India has been a great opportunity. So that is the journey that I've been through. But I'm very obviously thankful towards the current government, the Prime Minister, and then the India AI mission itself, that they have supported us for this kind of a mission, which needs a government support in the start. This is equivalent to what Tesla was doing in 2005 and 8, where the government is supporting them a lot, that push for EV development, and then they became a real company. So initially, you need these kind of projects need a lot of government support. So we are very thankful for that.
Well, you're still a new startup. How was the ecosystem for AI startups in India? and how is it's improved, and what role is the entire mission playing in this?
Yeah, yeah. See, there's like you have to when you look at the AI ecosystem overall, there's two types of companies that there are. One would be your application building company, where the companies who use ChatGPT, Gemini, and larger companies AI, and then they would go to a specific client and build the product for them. Those kind of companies have been successfully built in India, and they're coming up. And then there's the other kind of company that creates IP and patents and real products that have to be trained on our own data, and that requires a lot of GPUs and model building. So foundational companies basically in AI, which is like creating our own chat GPT, creating our own Gemini. And then obviously, Shodh AI's mission is to go towards AI for science. There are other companies who are AI for languages, which was the initial push by India AI. But India AI mission also like through us, and like there are three total companies out of these 12 who are AI for science companies, and we and it is very like supportive that they, while the world was looking only at languages for AI, they've also supported an AI, few AI for science companies, which will give bigger outcomes in the future. Not currently, but in 2 3 years, the result would be more. So the experience of the Indian ecosystem has actually been great, greater than I expected. People are very collaborative. Everyone's very helpful for people who if they see that someone's talented, they really push it up. So wherever I've gone to Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, I've always seen like people really coming up and helping us around. Like we are very closely working with the team of NVIDIA, that is the Indian team at NVIDIA, and they're really helping us like in how to use the GPUs better, and they're giving us the architecture of the models that we are building. So the support has been great, but it would not have been possible without like the initial support of India AI. And once you are in that ecosystem, people see that we are an India AI company, then we've been getting a lot of help automatically. So we believe that AI for science would be the future, and we are really pushing and bullish towards this, and we're pushing India AI also, that like languages is something you've already pushed a lot. Now that they need to push AI for science further.
All right, and what can you tell us about the projects you have performed, and success stories that have happened for you so far?
Yeah. So, personally, like my one of the main projects that I've done that were quite successful was I built like a fast healthcare detector during the COVID time. It was a project at Cambridge when I was in the university itself, and it was funded by GSK initially. And we were able to, the team of like some physics and engineering people, we could come together, and we built a very fast uh, uh, PRC detector, and it was able to give results faster than the other people at that time. And the patent was actually bought by GSK right there. And that's where like I got a lot of confidence that products can be built, and if you build differentiating products, technologies, there are supportive, a different ecosystem that exists already that pushes these kind of things further. So we are doing similar kind of thing at Shodh AI as well, that our primary aim is to solve material science on a larger basis, and um, but basically, and like create a national mission on material science intelligence. But right now we are aiming towards solving the battery ecosystem. So we are talking to a lot of industries like Tata, Ola, all the other battery companies, and we're going towards them that we have this model for batteries. It can predict the battery life beforehand. So you take this model from us, it'll save you a lot of months, and you can give better certifications on your batteries right now. So we are building something that they can already use. Later on, we will go towards generative AI in batteries, that they will be able to create new batteries like India needs to counter the lithium ion batteries that China produces. So in the future, we will produce sodium ion batteries. So India needs that help. We are providing that the model infrastructure behind it that we'll be giving to these companies, and later on going towards a broader sense in material science. That's the aim of what Shodh AI is doing.
Well, and what is the core mission of Shodh AI?
Yeah. So the core mission is basically, so Shodh AI was created with the help of India AI as a larger company solving AI for science. So while other companies are targeting languages, we are targeting AI for science. So in the scope of AI for science, our primary mission currently is to build a large material model. So LMM that we call. So large material model we will come out with. And with this large material model, you can basically a scientist can work with this model, startups can come work with this model, and corporates of India can work, and we can create new types of materials. So, for example, India was struggling with rare earth supply from China. Everywhere around the world, China was blackmailing everyone because they have a huge decades of infrastructure built around it. And because China was able to do that kind of hard work in the last 3 decades, that they built supply chains for rare earth and lithium ion, that the whole world got dependent on them. The advantage with AI now is that we can do that same thing that they did for 3 decades in the next 3 years. So we will be able to build the next sodium ion batteries, the next synthetic alloys to be used for industries, or the next fighter jet engine that we want to build. We need the new materials for it. So India needs to create its own patents and IPs, and we need to go further from make in India manufacturing to invent in India, which is what we are aiming for. So the larger mission is a larger material model through which Indian startups can make new materials with their own data, with their expertise, and the cost of making a new material, which was millions and maybe billions of dollars before, and it took 10 years. Our mission is to bring that down to 6 months with our model and our scientific robotic facility. So in combination of that, people would be able to bring more patents, and there'll be more unicorns, material-based unicorns in India. So opening up a bigger $1 trillion economy. That's why.
Right. Well, are you looking at expansion to generative AI as well?
Yes. So our initial with the model itself, the primary aim is that right now all the applications of generative AI has been on generating language, right? And they can generate code. In the future, which is the next 2 3 year, the next AI race will actually be: can you generate new types of drugs, new types of materials, new types of pharma, biotechnology? So AI will be generating these things. So already in US, people are, when the COVID vaccine was developed, it was developed within 6 months, and that was because of AI. That was the first use of AI that became very big. So it's not just using AI in a science lab, but they're using AI as a generative AI tool in science. So our aim is generative AI for materials. That once you add your own data as a scientist or as a company, and if I have a battery that I add on it, and I ask it that I want to make improvements in this specific area, it'll give you a new type of material that you can build in your lab, or it can give you like verified materials. So basically, generative AI for materials. It is called generative AI for science, basically, as a larger mission. And this kind of opens the next sector of science and patent development. And this is how, like, even if we uh, you'd see that in manufacturing, maybe China may be able to manufacture more, but US and Europe have always been ahead still because they generate patents. So patents come from generating new things, and that new thing would be done through AI. If AI is given that capability, and Indian scientists can work that with that AI, which is our aim, they'll be able to generate new materials and new drugs and new biotechnological solutions. So that's the aim of Shodh AI, basically.
And how important is the AI summit in India going to be, according to you?
Yeah. From the Prime Minister's meeting itself, I can say that he emphasized on it a lot. He was very keen that the AI summit becomes a successful summit, and that not just foreign companies are able to show their outcomes in the AI summit, but that we in the Indian AI startup ecosystem and the 12 companies specifically are able to show some good results, showing that the India is the next big country in AI. So India AI Missions Summit itself is one of the places where India sort of puts itself on the pedestal of, equating ourselves to others. And we don't just should show that we are equal to them, but we need to show to them that we are leading in some areas. And that's what the aim would for this summit and the next summit would be, that this time we become equal, and the next one we can show that we are actually better in some areas compared to, China and US.
Right. And what does the Prime Minister want from the AI industry? What is his vision? And where do you think we are heading in the next 10 years?
Yeah, so the prime minister and the minister had both mentioned, like in their speeches, that we see AI as the fifth industrial revolution after the internet came out, which is considered the fourth internet industrial revolution. So, being the fifth industrial revolution, it is something, first of all, that you should not get behind on, and second, that you should actually take lead on. And India has the infra, the human resource capability, the depth of knowledge required for this type of technology. So their ask from the AI ecosystem in India is not just to solve lazy solutions, but to bring on new kind of things where we can actually excel over other countries. And their ask was to find bold solutions, tougher solutions where even further efforts are required, and that problems that are tough to solve, but real use cases. He had emphasized on real use cases a lot. And overall, the conclusive line from their side, or what I can say, the summarized line was to make in India, but make for the world. So we always aim for make in India campaigns, what we did with UPI, and a lot of successful work and milestones have been achieved in the Make in India campaign. But make for the world means that we have to be better than others, or be able to compete with others, or even supersede them in a lot of ways. So Make in India and Make for the World were the basic lines in it. And the focus has to be on languages plus materials, 3D videos to vision models, and then biotechnological and pharma-based solutions. So real use cases that can bring difference in the real life of a common person, as well as technologically pushing the country further.
And what do you think, does the AI industry in India need to compete with the world's best companies?
I think we should. I think we should, and that's why, like, we are very bullish. Like, Shodh AI is actually coming from a different direction, and it is true that India AI has, they're aiming for sovereign models. They're aiming that sovereign AI be developed. That we must focus on our regional languages and our data. That must not be used by first the companies abroad, and then we are able to build our own models and then our own products. So I think that's very important, definitely. And to start with language was the right direction, because US and China had both. So US had developed ChatGPT and Gemini, and China had done DeepSeek. They're all large, very large reasoning models on the broader knowledge around the world. And India must develop their own large reasoning models, which are required. But I also really think that we also need domain specific and scientific specific models that need to be there, which don't just produce language but actually produce real outcomes for industries. And there are a lot of places where the industry could benefit hundreds of times better. Indian industry could produce things much faster now, because we are already playing catch up in a lot of places. We are playing catch up in semiconductor. We're playing catch up in a lot of manufacturing, as well as deeper tech, industries. So this is where now we can actually take lead, or come at the same level. If our semiconductor industry could build their own AI model, they could equate through that, like, 20 years of experience that China has, train that to an AI model, and you will have a semiconductor model that runs our industries better with the same outcomes that China is giving. That's what we want to do. The same thing in batteries and materials. That's what Shodh AI wants to achieve. So companies like Shodh AI also have to be pushed further, because AI for science is as important as AI for languages.
All right. Really appreciate you taking out the time and speaking to us. Wishing you all the best for the summit. We take a short break now. Be right back.